Coromandel Peninsula, yes, the beach resort of Whangamata. It is race 2 of the Contact Tri series, an opportunity to celebrate the fastest growing sport in New Zealand. 140,000 people last year took part in a triathlon. That is remarkable. And today we've got athletes competing in the 393, the beginners event, the 121 for the kids, and of course the sprint and Olympic distances, featuring some of the biggest names in the sport and some emerging talent. In the women's race, Michaela Nielsen, the 2011 World Junior Triathlon champion. Can anybody beat her? And on the men's side, it should be a great showdown between Mark Bosted, an endurance athlete, and Clark Ellis, the reserve for the New Zealand Olympic team for 2012.
Well, it really is an absolutely magnificent place, Whangamata. It is the jewel in the Coromandel. It's one of the great holiday destinations, known for its famous surf. But of course, it does have a place in New Zealand triathlon history, going right back to the days of Rick Wells versus Cameron Brown, one of the great battles in the early 1990s. Well, thousands of people means there's a very good start list across all different spectrums of the sport today. More than 600 athletes in total. Let's have a look at today's course. For our swimmers today, 2 laps of 750 metres in very testing conditions, the most purest swim. There are large swells they need to negotiate. And then it's out onto the bike, 2 laps of 20 kilometres through the township of Whangamata and then out through the rolling terrain. It is very much a strength endurance type based course, and so important they do understand exactly where they need to go. It's a combination of hills, it's a combination of flat. And then it's on to the run. And for our competitors today, it is 3 laps of just over 3 kilometres. What makes it so unique is they come back along the beach. It's heavy sand, it's tough underfoot. It's going to require some real mental composure and plenty of strength. And we are set for a start in the men's race. Clark Ellis, very much the race favourite, former top 16 in the world, the man who comes from Taranaki. He is Taranaki hardcore. And Hamish Hammond, the defending champion, and one of the great finishers last year, beating Stephen Sheldrake. Perhaps the dark horse, Mark Bosted, one of the best swim bike specialists, and the man many people expect to lead out of the swim is young Sam Franklin. And now looking at very much the favourite in the women's race, Michaela Nielsen, the former World Junior Champion. But the challenge will come from this girl here, Maddie Brunton. But do not underestimate Rachel Hamill, the winner of round 1 in Rotorua. Well, we are underway, a beach start, very difficult. This is where we're going to find out who's done the open water training, who has the surf skills. But they've negotiated the early swells, they're into the open water. And this is a very good start coming from Sam Franklin. Clark Ellis just tucked in there along with Hamish Hammond. Now Hamish Hammond comes from a swimming background, so we do expect him to sort of come out towards the front. But it is, again, not a pool swim, so therefore it is a little bit of a lottery with the swells that we have seen in recent times here at Whangamata. So Sam Franklin, coached by Mark Bone. Good, beautiful stroke, just lengthening things out. Nice kick, beautifully balanced swimmer. And Clark Ellis in the background just trying to hang tough as we go back now to the start of the women's race. A smaller field, which means there will be more gaps, but plenty of friends, plenty of family here to support everybody. And it is young Michaela Nielsen, who won the World Championships in 2011 in Beijing at just the age of 17. Remarkable talent. But this is what she's going to have to negotiate shortly as she comes in to finish her first lap, because we have now seen Clark Ellis lead the swim out. So Clark Ellis, outstanding surf skills to narrowly take an advantage over Sam Franklin heading into the transition. Expect Clark to be very good in this area. He spent a lot of time on the World Cup circuit, and this is one thing they put a lot of time and effort into. And he does that brilliantly. So possibly just extends that by another 10 seconds. Mark Bosted, another athlete we're expecting to see come into transition very shortly, and here he is. As Hamish Hammond makes his way out onto the bike course, an athlete who's still just finding his way in the sport. And a first look at Clark Ellis in his setup. He looks pretty comfortable there, no upper body movement, so it means he's well balanced. He'll be enjoying having a time trial set up on his bike. He spent most of his career doing the ITU World Cup circuit, which is a drafting format, and therefore they tend to have more of a traditional road setup. But today he's got the aero bars, he's got the full carbon wheels. He's going to be doing everything he can to try and maximise his aerodynamics and see if he can gap himself on the rest of this field. As we now have a look at Sam Franklin, another young athlete, outstanding swimmer. Still just learning to really understand this sport. and gain that valuable strength on the bike, because he knows the challenges are going to come from this man, Mark Bosted, who is simply an outstanding cyclist, works incredibly hard on his bike riding. His younger brother James Bosted, also very good, but tends to concentrate more on the longer distance. And Mark Bosted will be looking to really try and see if he can just pull back time on Clark Ellis. If not, try and even have a lead coming off the bike and see if he can ultimately hang on. Nice smooth pedal cadence. Our riders will be looking to ride somewhere around about 95 to 100 revolutions per minute. That is the optimal number of times you want to be turning the pedals. And that ultimately relates to bike efficiency. It's also going to allow you to run a lot better when you do get off the bike. So Clarky Ellis just having a wee look over his right shoulder. I think he senses that possibly Mark Bosted is not too far behind him. He's just going to have to continue to dig deep. Very talented athlete, Clark Ellis. He's shown that in the past at the World Championships. But now we start to see the class of Bosted, and look at the contrast in bike form. And what Clarky's going to have to try and do here is get within about 7 metres of him, no closer, and see if he can just try and key off him. But Mark Bosted, he's a little bit further back on his bike, a little bit further back, which means that he tends to use his glutes a little bit more than possibly just his hamstrings. And that means he's going to get more power out of his bike. Nice and relaxed too. And look at that, what a great ugly face. That means that he really is working hard. He's sucking that oxygen in. His nutrition there stuck to the bars. Wants to make sure that he can access this as quickly as he can. Our riders are going to be out around about an hour over 40 kilometres on this hilly course. So important. They do make sure they keep the fuel gauge on full. And our first look now at Matt Franklin, number 10, currently sitting in 3rd place. Again, a little bit further forward on his seat, just behind him, the defending champion, Hamish Hammond. And off the back of Hamish, currently sitting in 5th place, it's Sam Franklin. But they are losing time to both Clark Ellis and Mark Bosted. Sam Franklin looking like perhaps just coming up one of the climbs here, deciding that he's more efficient, just coming back off the aero bars. And now to the front of our women's race. Very good race developing here too. Young Michaela Nielsen first out of the swim, and looking to try and just extend that lead on the bike. A more traditional setup. Doesn't have the long extended aero bars on the front, just the shorter ones, which we see on the ITU, which they are allowed to use as long as they don't extend beyond the brake hoods. And so Michaela now just deciding that she needs to reach for that drink bottle. And this is Maddie Brunton, a former national cycling representative at under 17 level, and she has now just closed that gap on Michaela Nielsen. So the two race favourites are coming together. And Maddie Brunton had a remarkable season a couple of years ago. She's decided just to get her academic studies behind her last year and this year, so she's just tended to cut back her training a little bit, but still has certainly a lot of potential and a big future ahead of her if she decides to chase it. But what a wonderful talent young Michaela Nielsen is. And the first look at our teams, and that is the great thing about the Contact Tri series. You can do these events in a team. You can get a swimmer, a cyclist, a runner, decide that that's how you want to do it, and then possibly step up and say, you know what, next year I think I can do this individually. So while the teams and the individuals do battle, we're not too far away from coming off this 40-kilometre bike. Swim and bike for show. Up next, it's Run for Dough. Today's Contact inspirational Kiwi is Ironman legend Cameron Brown, but he's an inspiration today to more than 150 kids, including his two sons, Josh and Brayden. How many other sports do you find an absolute legend giving up their time to inspire the next generation coming through?
Well, we're with the Brown family, 3 members of it anyway, and all have taken part today. How you going, boys? You enjoy the race today?
Yeah.
What about Dad? Nice relaxed day for you?
Yeah, no, it's great. It's nice to compete with the boys and see them racing, and just be with them from every step.
Now, we're talking to you guys as inspirational Kiwis, and it's not just you, Cameron, with your career and what you've done, but you got your kids out here having some fun, but hopefully inspiring another generation. You were inspired here, weren't you, many years ago at Whangamata?
Yeah, no, it's always had a love of this race, and Rick Wells was the guy sort of I beat 20 years ago, and it's a fantastic atmosphere, holiday atmosphere, and just a good tough race as well.
And you guys took part today. What you were in? Tell us about what you did today and who you did it with.
Well, I did a team for the sprint with my friends and cousin, My friend Max Bradbury, he did the swim, and I did the bike, and my cousin Corey did the run.
I did the 393, and the waves were really big, so I didn't have like the best swim. And then the bike, it was much better, and then on the run I was going fast.
And what do you guys reckon that other kids around New Zealand, do you reckon they should give triathlon a go?
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
Good stuff. Well, well done today, guys, and good luck, Cam, for the rest of the season, but well done, boys.
It's round 2 of the Contact Tri series in Whangamata. This is the front of the men's race. Mark Bosted looking to try and put as much distance as he can on world-class ITU athlete Clark Ellis, and so far so good in the aero position now, tucked in, maximising that aerodynamic helmet, beautifully set up. He's going to probably need to have 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes if he's to hold on. He had a horrendous crash last year, hit by a car, basically had the year out, had to have major knee surgery. And so there is a question mark over his run, but nobody can deny, along with his brother James, perhaps 2 of the very best cyclists in the sport of triathlon now in this country. Beautiful, smooth, pedal cadence just over the top of that gear. Boy, he looks good, but this is where the challenge is going to come from. Clark Ellis, great to see Clark on the start line. He's just come from a training camp in Mount Maunganui, and he's an athlete who's still determined to try and get himself to a Commonwealth and Olympic Games. But this is Mark Bosted leading off the bike, just needs to rack his bike, and this is a major rookie error. He's forgotten where he had his bike racked initially. He's lost more time here. He lost around about 14 seconds to Clark Ellis in transition from the swim to the bike. So this is something he can't afford to do, because Clark Ellis is very much the class act when it comes to the run leg. So Mark Bosted begins his journey over 10 kilometres as we see Clark Ellis come in, and unofficially it's around about 1:40. And there you see a complete contrast, the efficiency of Clark Ellis. Again, he's immediately pulled back about another 10 or 11 seconds there. So good form here from Mark Bosted, running nice and tall. He looked beautifully set up, and hopefully that now equates to good running form. He doesn't look fatigued off the back of an outstanding bike ride, and I can tell you his official bike split out on that course today was 57.23, which was remarkable over 40 kilometres off the back of a difficult swim over very tough terrain. But the high leg turnover now of Clarky Ellis. He'll be used to this intensity. He's used to getting off the bike and running incredibly hard, because that is the nature of the sport at the ITU World Cup level. He has to try and pull back around about 1 minute and 40 seconds. He realises that. He's getting splits coming out of transition from friends and family. He needs to be patient. Very easy to get carried away through the first 5 kilometres. You find out who's done the work through kilometres 7, 8 and 9. He'll know that if he's maybe feeling just a little bit rugged, feeling a little bit fatigued, that he will come right. He'll be back in the training that he has done. As we see him come off the road now onto the beach for the first time. This is incredibly tough for all of our runners, heavy sand. And you'll be wanting to try and get as close to that water edge as possible, where the sand is a little bit firmer, and just try and maximise his running ability. As we now see athletes coming off the bike, a very good race developing for 3rd place. Sam Franklin, Matt Franklin, defending champion Hamish Hammond. Again, this could once again just come down to who's most effective, who's most efficient in transition, who's practiced this aspect of the sport. An aspect that many athletes do underestimate. But again, they're going to need to maintain composure. Some large crowds in and around the transition area. You've got to control the emotion. And you can just see how difficult it is running on the sand here for Clarky. He's just having to really dig deep. But Mark Bosted still maintaining some good form. Looks like he's just found his 2nd win. So this is going to be a fantastic race between these two. And I'd love to see what Mark Bosted could do in time over this distance. He's decided ultimately he wants to be a half Ironman athlete. Out of Karaka in South Auckland. Gone out and sought their own sponsorship. They find their own way around the world. Recently just finished his academic studies as a qualified engineer. To the front of the women's race, it is Michaela Nielsen who led out of the swim, who looks like she will lead off the bike. Just behind her though, Maddie Brunton. Now these athletes went 1 and 2 at the same race in 2012. We're about to see a little bit of deja vu. Michaela very much the form runner, the best runner in this field. Her sister Jamie Nelson, an outstanding athlete, a member of New Zealand's high-performance track cycling team, went to the London Olympic Games as a member of the pursuit team. So certainly does have the genetics in the family. So racks her bike, helmet off, shoes on. Maddie Brunton here is just going to have to be patient. She's just going to have to try and see that perhaps maybe her strength over the longer distance comes through, because we're not sure she's got the basic speed that Michaela Nielsen does have, and Michaela Nielsen's decided to go out very quickly, trying to gap Maddie Brunton as quickly as she can, and just maybe put a little bit of doubt into the head of Maddie Brunton. So I think also Maddie realistic possibly about the quality of athlete that is in front of her at the moment. And look at that form there of Michaela Nielsen. National Secondary Schools cross-country champion. Out of Hamilton. Her favourite hat by the looks of it. A little unconventional, but sometimes that's not a bad thing. And again, contrasting form there of Maddie Brunton. Just struggling somewhat, just doesn't seem to quite have that composure at the moment. Sir Edmund Hillary Scholar, former Prime Minister's scholarship too. Been 11th at the World Junior Triathlon Championships 3 years ago. Another athlete out of Hamilton. So it's been a hard day on the bike for Maddie Brunton, so that stride's certainly not as long as Michaela Nielsen's, but I'm sure she will find her legs. Contrasting form here of our athlete in third place, our winner from round one, Rachel Hamill. Remarkable story in the 40 to 44 age group, so almost a veteran amongst some of these other athletes. Now we understand she's taken a bit of a detour on the bike that may have cost her some time, but really the emphasis is on the athletes to know the course. As we have a look now for the battle for third place, Hamish Hammond, your defending champion, and comfortably ahead of Sam Franklin and Matt Franklin, beginning to make some inroads into the two in front of him, but he may just run out of road. But back at the front of the men's race, Clarkie Ellis has just narrowly taken the lead from Mark Bosted on the final part of the sand dunes. He will now come down the finish line in front of this very large crowd. The former national triathlon champion over the Olympic distance and the sprint distance will add round two of the Contact Tri series to an ever-increasing, ever-impressive resume. Well done, Clark Ellis. Victory in Whangamata. And just to show how close this race has been, Mark Bosted in second place. He led off the bike, he led for so much of the run, but that is a very good performance from him. This is an athlete with a lot of improvement left in him. Scary stuff for the future. Two very good athletes, first and second. Now Hamish Hammond, he'll be pleased to get off the sand and get onto some terra firma. As we see now Michaela Nielsen, she's extended her lead over Maddie Brunton and Rachel Hamill. She is comfortably out in front. She will defend her title she won here last year. This very impressive young teenager, a comfortable victory by the looks of it over the gutsy Maddie Brunton. Just how difficult is that heavy sand? Boy, you've got to concentrate. That's incredibly hard to do when you're physically under duress. But Michaela Nielsen, she'll accept the applauds, the accolades of this crowd, and comfortably win round two. Well done to her.
Been working on her swimming of late, and I think it's paying off because, boy, can she ride and can she run. So the question mark has always been her swimming, but
automatically takes the shoes off. A lot of sand in there, probably a lot of rubbing going on. The odd blister may be forming as we do see Maddie Brunton come down and replicate what she did in 2012. She'll be second today. But one thing Maddie has said, she just wants to race. She might not be able to do the training that she'd love to do with her academic studies, but she believes she's going to learn a lot by just simply getting out there. And it is the only way you truly understand the sport, by racing. And let's hear from our men's winner, Clark Ellis.
Yeah, it's always a bonus to get a win for your first race of the year. So, yeah, we're doing a lot of training at the moment, and yeah, with a few tempo runs and all the rest of it, and a calf strain in the middle of November, I wasn't too sure how the calf would hold up on the sand running, but just paced myself really well. And the last lap of the run, I thought, right, I'm good, and I just let myself go, caught up Mark, and just, yeah, dropped the hammer along that sand. And it's always good when your body lets you run fast again.
I was a little bit disappointed with my swim. The wading and the duck diving doesn't quite suit me, so I gave up too much there, and I think that's ultimately where the time difference came from. So a little bit gutted with that, but very happy with how things are going.
If you're inspired by what you've seen today, you want to get involved in the sport of triathlon, go to the Triathlon New Zealand website, triathlon.org.nz. Become a member of Tribe. It'll point you in the right direction of clubs, coaches, what events there are on around the country. It'll help take out the guesswork for you. Well, it's been a wonderful day's racing here in Whangamata. Congratulations to our men's champion Clark Ellis, Michaela Nielsen for taking out the women's race. But it was also an opportunity to see some of the legends from yesteryear. We saw Samantha Warriner taking part in the sprint distance race, Cameron Brown lining up with his son Josh to compete in the 393, and in the men's teams race we saw five-time New Zealand road champion Gordon McCauley. The next race in the series is race 3 at the Pegasus Township in Christchurch.